In a faraway village, there lived a couple who longed for a child. They tried for many years, but could not conceive. Then, a miracle happened, and the wife became pregnant with their first child. One day, she was sitting by the window, overlooking a beautiful garden, filled with tomatoes, cucumbers, and the most delicious-looking Rapunzel. But no one ever entered this garden, because it belonged to an evil witch who was feared by everyone in the village. The wife longed for that Rapunzel. Her husband came in and said, "What's wrong, dear?" "Oh, darling," she said, "I really want some of that yummy-looking Rapunzel. And if I don't get any, I'm afraid I will die." The husband saw how weak and sad his wife looked. So when it reached twilight, he climbed over the wall and entered the garden. He was about to take the Rapunzel when all of a sudden he heard, "Thief!" It was the witch. She had spotted him stealing from the garden. "How dare you steal from my garden?" The man tried to explain. "Oh, please, my wife is pregnant. If she doesn't get any of this Rapunzel, she may die." The witch looked at the man, thought for a moment, then said, "All right then, I shall strike a deal. You may take as much Rapunzel as you want, but in return, you must give me the child when it is born." The man was scared, and he didn't know what to do. He quickly and reluctantly agreed, and took the Rapunzel home to his wife. Months later, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. The couple begged and pleaded with the witch, "Oh, please, please let us keep our child. Don't take her away from us. She's all we have." But the witch refused, reminding the man of his deal. And she took the child away, naming her Rapunzel. Now the witch raised Rapunzel as her own, and treated her quite well. But when Rapunzel was 12 years old, the witch locked her away in a tower, where there were no doors and no ladders, just a high room with one window overlooking the village. Now over the years, Rapunzel had grown beautiful golden blonde hair. It was so long that whenever the witch wanted to visit, she would go up to the tower and say, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." And Rapunzel would throw a long golden braid out the window, and the witch would climb up. One day, a prince had been riding by on his horse, when all of a sudden, he heard singing, "Flower gleam and glow, let your power shine, make the clock reverse, bring back what once was mine." It was the most beautiful sound he had ever heard. "I must find out where this is coming from," he said. He started riding towards the tower, and as he got closer, he noticed a girl in the window. It was Rapunzel. She had grown very lonely in her tower, and entertained herself by singing. He rode closer and closer, but then saw the witch passing by, so he ran and hid behind a bush and just waited. He heard the witch say, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." And Rapunzel threw down her long golden braid, and the witch climbed up. And when the witch was gone, and the coast was clear, the prince rode up to the tower and said, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Now Rapunzel, thinking it was the witch, threw her long golden braid out the window, and the prince climbed up. She was surprised at first to see that it was a handsome prince and not the witch. "Well, don't be afraid," he said. "I just had to find out where that beautiful singing came from. And now I know that it comes from the most beautiful girl I've ever seen." Rapunzel thought the prince was sweet. "You are very kind," she said. "But quick, you must go before the witch catches you." As the prince started down the tower, she said, "Wait, will I ever see you again?" The prince thought for a moment and said, "I shall return tomorrow at the same time." "I'd like that very much," Rapunzel said. And so the prince did. He came back the next day, and the next day, and the day after that. He would bring her flowers and gifts, and eventually the two had formed a friendship. And the more the prince came to visit, the more Rapunzel realized that she was in love with him. But one day, Rapunzel had slipped. When the witch was climbing up, Rapunzel said, "Why are you so much heavier than when the prince climbed up?" Rapunzel gasped, realizing her mistake. The witch became enraged, for she had not known of the prince's visits. She was so angry, she grabbed a pair of scissors and chopped off the long golden braid Rapunzel once had, and banished her to the desert, where she would live forever in despair. Then the witch waited for the prince. When she heard him say, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair," the witch threw down the long golden braid, and the prince climbed up. When he realized it was the witch and not Rapunzel, he became angry and frightened. "Where's Rapunzel?" he said. But the witch said nothing. She pushed him out the window, and down he fell onto the ground, where he landed on a bush. He nearly escaped with his life. His eyes had been scratched out by the thorns on the bush. He wandered around blindly, saddened by the fact that he would never see his beloved Rapunzel again. He eventually made his way to the forest, or to the desert where Rapunzel was living, where all of a sudden he heard, "Flower, gleaming low, let your power shine, make the clock reverse, bring back what once was mine." He recognized it immediately, for he knew it was his beloved Rapunzel. "Rapunzel!" he shouted. When Rapunzel spotted him, she was ecstatic and ran into his arms, with tears of joy streaming down her face and ran into the prince's eyes. This miraculously had healed him, and the two embraced, so happy that they finally saw each other again. The two went on to live together forever, never seeing or hearing from that evil witch ever again, and the two lived happily ever after. And the moral of this story is, never take what doesn't belong to you, even if it comes from a beautiful garden.